My house started to shrink. I didn't immediately realize what was happening. Honestly, everything seemed too normal. That evening, I returned home later than usual. It was quiet, as always. I took off my jacket, threw my keys on the table, and went into the kitchen. And that's where the first strange thing happened. The mug I'd left in the morning was a little closer to the edge. I clearly remembered placing it lower. I even have a habit of not putting things on the edge. But I just shrugged. I forgot, I said out loud, and poured myself some tea. That night, I woke up with a feeling that something was wrong. You know that feeling when you wake up, and the silence seems too thick? I lay there and stared at the ceiling, and suddenly I realized it was closer. Not much. A couple of centimeters. Maybe it just seemed that way. I sat up. The ceiling wasn't moving. I lay down again, and now it was the same. I chuckled, paranoia, and fell asleep. The morning started worse. I hit my head on the doorframe. Not hard, but enough to make me curse. What the hell? I've lived here for 3 years. I know every inch of this house, and I've never hit my head on a doorframe. I ran my hand over the wood, and suddenly noticed the marks. I made them as a joke, measuring my height. The last one was at 178. I stood up straight. My head was lower. I took out the tape measure. I froze. Okay. I whispered. Okay. The scale. Maybe I shrank somehow. Dehydration. Sleep. I laughed, but the laugh was empty. All day I walked around the house, checking. Table. Chair. Wardrobe. They looked bigger, but when I measured them, the dimensions didn't change. I was the one changing. By evening, I was 172. I checked every half hour. Every half an hour. I decided to go out. Just go outside. To check myself next to something. Normal. I put on my jacket, opened the door, and stopped. I was overcome. Fear. Not just fear, but a feeling that if I went out, something would go wrong. As if the house didn't want to let me go. I stood there for a minute, 2. Then I abruptly walked out, and immediately I felt better. The air was normal. The world was normal. I walked to the car, looked in the reflection. I looked shorter, but not much. I returned to the house, and then everything got worse. The ceiling was lower. I'm not kidding. I took a step inside and immediately felt it. It was pressing. I raised my hand and almost touched it. This wasn't there this morning. On the 3rd day, I stopped denying it. I was shrinking, but that wasn't the worst part. The house was also changing. The hallway became narrower. I couldn't walk without my shoulders touching the walls. The doors seemed higher, but not because they were growing, but because I was shrinking faster than everything else, as if the house was adapting to fit me. I started writing it down. Every change, every centimeter, every sound. And here's what I noticed. At night, everything sped up. A creak. The first time I heard it was at 3:17. Thin, long, like wood, bending. I turned on the flashlight, and I saw the ceiling was moving, slowly, almost imperceptibly, but it was descending. I wasn't sleeping. I sat and watched. Every minute it grew closer, not abruptly, not with a crash, but quietly, calmly, as if this were normal. On the 4th day, I couldn't reach the light switch anymore. I used a mop to turn on the light. Funny, right? If it weren't for the fear. I began to hear footsteps, not my own, quiet, somewhere inside the walls, sometimes from above, sometimes under the floor, and they were following me. I screamed, "Who's there?" There was no answer, only a creak and movement. I decided to run, this time without thinking. I ran to the door, but it had gotten smaller. The handle was too high. I jumped, clinging, and at some point I realized I couldn't open it. Panic hit me instantly. I ran to the window. It was far away, too far away, as if on the second floor, although it was the first. I started breaking the glass with a chair. Once, two, three. The glass cracked, but it didn't break, as if the house wasn't letting me out. Now I can't walk anymore. I'm crawling. The ceiling almost touches the floor. The rooms have shrunk. The furniture has become enormous. I'm like an insect inside the box. I found old notes in the basement. A notebook, not mine. It read, Day 1, everything seems normal. Day 2, the ceiling is closer. Day 3, I've become smaller. Day 5, the house is adjusting. Day 7, it won't let me out. Last entry, if you're reading this, you're already inside. I don't know how much time has passed. It's hard to tell here. Day and night, almost the same. Only the creaking sounds suggest it's still going on. Sometimes I see cracks between the walls, and there, something is moving. It doesn't enter the room yet, but I feel it. It's waiting until the house finishes. Now I'm sitting under the table. More precisely, under what used to be a table. Now it's like a ceiling above a ceiling. The last layer. There's almost no space left. I'm lying down, and I'm writing this on my phone. I can still hold it in my hands. If you ever notice the ceiling getting a little closer, or the door frame getting lower, don't ignore it. Leave immediately, because then you simply won't be able to reach the handle, and then the house will start closing you in.